Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Liu Chi-Wu Prize, Prize for World Civilization Laureate Public Lecture by Mr. Hans-Josef Feld, Liu Chi-Wu Prize 2018 Sustainability Prize Laureate. My name is Natalie, an undergraduate student of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Today, we are greatly honored to have invited Mr. Feld, the founder and president of Energy Watch Group, to deliver a lecture to us. First, may I invite Professor Waki Tuan, Vice-Chancellor and President of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, to deliver a welcoming address. Professor Tuan, please.
Good morning, Dr. Chang, Professor Lau, Mr. and Mrs. Feld, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me tremendous pleasure to welcome you all to the Liu Chi-Wu Prize World Civilization Laureate Public Lecture here at CUHK. We are very privileged to have Dr. Liu Chi-Wu, founder of this distinguished award, who has given us this opportunity to present this lecture. Dr. Liu is a prominent and dedicated philanthropist who has been contributing tirelessly to the betterment of society and sowing seeds of benevolence for those in need. We at the Chinese University of Hong Kong are deeply grateful to Dr. Liu and the Liu Chi-Wu Foundation for the unfailing support to our development over the years. Thanks to Dr. Liu's vision and generosity, the Liu Chi-Wu Prize has not only recognized the actions and the actors that have brought about positive changes to society. It has also greatly complemented the effort of the education sector in nurturing and advancing world civilization. This prestigious award has innovatively recognized accomplishments that are beneficial to mankind and encourage continuation of the work of the laureates. The impact of the Liu Chi-Wu Prize transcends the boundaries of nations and promotes universal values. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to heartily congratulate Mr. Hans-Josef Feld, laureate of this year's prize under the category of sustainability. The award is certainly a most fitting recognition of Mr. Feld's remarkable contributions to renewable energy supply around the world. Mr. Feld is a founding figure of the global renewable energy movement. From 1990 to 2000, he was a city councillor and a district councillor in Germany. He initiated Germany's Feed-in Tariff program and co-authored the country's Renewable Energy Sources Act, EEG. The EEG has since been replicated over 100 times around the globe. Mr. Feld has been advising governments and parliaments globally and sharing his expertise all over the world on ways to accelerate a global clean energy transition. As the president of the Energy Working Group, or Watch Group rather, Mr. Feld actively promotes a transition to 100% renewable energy worldwide. The Energy Watch Group provides advice on legal frameworks for sustainable energy and analyzes global energy development and commissions independent studies on energy and clean tech. Even more importantly, Mr. Feld has devoted himself to promoting renewable energy not only in Germany, but also around the world. In recognition of his significant achievements and contributions, Mr. Feld was awarded Energy Globe Award in 2000, Bavarian Order of Merit in 2012, and Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany in 2015. CUHK is an institution of higher education that strives to address ever-evolving global needs and challenges. In fact, we here at CUHK in January of this year established a chapter, the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network chapter here in Hong Kong. And we are actively seeking to bring about changes that will make this part of the world, and perhaps also extend it to other parts of the world, the message of sustainability and how the world can go on and deal with to address the 17 goals that the United Nations has set for the world to be accomplished in the next decade or so. So we are therefore greatly honored today to host the Lü Ji-wo Prize World Civilization Laureate Public Lecture. Let's therefore give an enthusiastic welcome to Mr. Hans-Josef Fell, who will deliver today's lecture on a very exciting topic entitled, this is a lot of words, let me get this right. I think you have it there, so make sure I read this correctly. Global zero-emission economy based on 100% renewables is feasible, economical, and a prerequisite for a sustainable and peaceful world. Mr. Fell.
Thank you, Professor Tuan. Founded by Dr. Lü Ji-wo in 2015, the Lü Ji-wo Prize for World Civilization is an annual, first of its kind, international, cross-sector, and innovative award for advancing world civilization and inspiring people to build a more harmonious world. Now, may I invite Professor Dr. Moses Chang, member of the Board of Governors of Lü Ji-wo Prize Limited, to introduce this prestigious award. Dr. Chang, please.
Vice Chancellor Rocky, Mr. and Mrs. Fell, Professor Lau, my good friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to steal a little bit of limelight of Mr. Fell and to bore you with a little bit of this description of the Lü Ji-wo Prize. Although it's in the third year, but I think a lot of people in Hong Kong or coming from other parts of the world, you might have heard of the Lü Ji-wo Prize. But I think there's seldom, when I come across friends, they would told me that they have heard of the prize, but they don't know too much about the prize. So let me give you a little bit of background of this prize. So this prize was founded by Dr. Lü Ji-wo on 24th of September 2015. It is an annual, first of its kind, international and cross-sector award for advancing world civilization and inspiring people to build a better and more harmonious world. The Lü Ji-wo Prize is open to the entire world and to people from all walks of life, and it is not limited to academics, professionals, or scientists, like some other prizes we know. The Lü Ji-wo Prize is awarded in 3 separate categories each year, and each of the prize category can be awarded to either a single individual or an organization. The first prize category is Sustainable Development of the World. The prize referred to as Sustainability Prize, and the objective of the prize is to recognize the recipient with outstanding contributions to the maintenance of sustainable ecological balance in the world and the provision of the needs of future generations. The second prize category is the betterment of the welfare of mankind. The prize referred to as Welfare Betterment Prize, the objective of which is to acknowledge the outstanding efforts and achievement of the recipient in enhancing the well-being of the human race. And then finally, the third prize category is the promotion of positive life attitude and enhancements of positive energy. And the prize is referred to normally as the Positive Energy Prize. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this is the innovation of Dr. Lü Ji-wo, And I don't think that I've come across any prize in the world of similar orientation. The objective of the Positive Energy Prize is to honor the recipient of the adoption of positive life attitude and unwavering determination to make constructive changes in the face of setback, hardship, or adversities. So on behalf of the Luigi World Prize, let me once again congratulate Mr. Fell to be being awarded the prize, one of the prizes this year, and I'm sure, like all of you, I'm looking forward to his lecture and presentation. And before I return to my seat, I think it is incumbent upon me to extend a warmest gratitude to Chinese University and to President Rocky for allowing us and supporting us in hosting this particular lecture, which is of special meaning to the Chinese University. And ladies and gentlemen, now may I present to you formally, and let's put our hand together to welcome Mr. Fell.
Thank you, Dr. Cheng. To show our appreciation, may I invite Professor Tuan to present a souvenir to our speaker, Mr. Fell, today. Professor Tuan and Mr. Fell, please. Professor Tuan and Mr. Fell, please remain on stage. Let us also welcome the following guests on stage. Dr. Moses Cheng, Governor of the Luigi Wu Prize Limited. Mrs. Fell. Mrs. Fell, please. Professor Lawrence Lau, Chairman of the Prize Recommendation Committee. Professor Christine Law, Member of the Sustainability Prize Selection Panel. Mrs. Stacy Tong, CEO, LCW Management Limited. Ms. Yvonne Lai, General Manager, Luigi Wu Prize Limited. Family members, Mr. Joseph Tang, Mr. Philip Chang, and Ms. Jessica Chang. Professor Gabriel Lau, Director of Institute of Environment, Energy and Sustainability of CUHK, to join the photo together. Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, President Tuan, for this invitation
pleasure.
to this honorable university here in Hong Kong. It is my great pleasure. And I have also a gift for your university, for your library.
Thank you.
It is my book.
Okay.
This book is
All reading
describing...
material.
Yeah. It is a book that describes what the world should go to, not to heat it up to 2 degrees global warming, but to cool down the Earth. I believe it is possible, and we should work all together on it. And when you want to know how to do it, you can read this book.
Here's the manual.
And you can prepare it.
I'm just going to add that this is a really cool thing that I'm getting. Very good. Thanks so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dear Dr. Cheng, thank you for the kind introduction and supporting my laureate in Luigi Wu Prize. It is a great honor and a great pleasure, dear Professor Lau, and dear students, dear professors, dear ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure and a honor to speak to you today how to come to a world that can be really sustainable. Today, we do not have a world that is sustainable, but we have the chance to do it, and we can organize it when we all, as humankind, the leaders in governments, the leaders in business, the leaders in science, and all together the people work on the same issue. Then we have a chance, and I believe we can achieve it. We need, you see it in the headline, a global zero-emission economy by the whole. Plenty believe it wouldn't be possible. But first, we should recognize what is today on the planet. We have a lot of great challenges, and the current political challenges, you can see it on 1,000 meetings of the world leaders to find solutions for the problem of climate warming, for loss of biodiversity, for energy security, for nuclear and environmental disasters, in oil wars, in poverty, in refugees, in economic crisis. But one point we can find when the leaders meet themselves, they want to find solutions only in a single aspect of this challenge. They don't look to a wide world in the combination of all these challenges. And when we look to the details, why is the world heating up in global warming? Why do we have wars over oil? Why do we have so plenty refugees from landscapes where the habitat is destroyed by desertification or floods or others? In the center stands the use of the fossil and nuclear energy. They are the main cause of all these problems in the world. And when we recognize it, then we have immediately the solution. To go to 100% renewables, to a zero-emission economy, not only in energy, in chemistry, and in all these parts, we can change the world to a better world. This Global Peace Index shows clearly where the oil is often the war. The oil is scarce, the conflicts are increasing, the wars are increasing. We all want peace, so we should find the solution. We cannot make war over solar radiation. It is impossible. But wars over oil and natural gas, even in coal, are on the world. So you see, for peace, renewable energies is one of the most important solutions. And we see the environmental disasters caused by nuclear power. First, from nuclear power stations comes the material for nuclear weapons. And not far from here in Hiroshima was the first disaster with nuclear weapons. But even the use of nuclear power is a disaster. Chernobyl is more than 1,000 kilometers away from my hometown. But in 1968, we were polluted from this accident in Germany, from Chernobyl disaster. And Fukushima, it's also a disaster. And now it becomes that the region around Hong Kong is polluted from this accident. This is a spread of radioactivity in the Pacific Ocean coming from Fukushima. Your coastlines will be radioactivity polluted. So nuclear power is not a solution for the world. Nuclear power is a great problem and not a contribution to climate protection. And greenhouse gas emissions, the biggest danger for the world, for humankind to our life. It comes from our power with coal power station, with natural gas, with oil. The intensive agriculture, the plastics based from oil and natural gas, the traffic, all is a source of greenhouse gases. And when we want to have a better world, we must stop all these greenhouse gases emissions. A zero-emission economy is necessary. And it is possible. When I was a young student in Würzburg, where Mr. Thurn was already, I studied physics, and I learned the physics over solar radiation. And I learned the solar energy is so plenty abundant to the world. We have 10,000 times more energy from the sun per year what the humankind needs energy per year. You see it here in a figure. The big quadrat shows the area in the desert of Sahara in Africa. When we bring photovoltaics to this area, we would have enough energy to serve the electricity of the world. There is no scarcity. We have plenty room. We have plenty possibility. So I learned in my student time, when we have so much energy, we need only the technology to earn it. And technology is a way what we can do on the world. We have a lot of technology movement in information technology and in others. Why should we not go to technology with renewable energy? And this influenced my life. And I began in my life with this technology. In 1985, I built my house. 100% renewables. The people didn't believe it would be possible to serve a house with 100% renewables. I did it and showed it is possible. Photovoltaics, even recreated in 1991, very, very expensive. Solar thermal is heating my showers, my bathroom. The winter garden brings hot air to heat up my house in spring and autumn time. In the cellar is a cogeneration machine to bring heat and electricity in cool and cold winter times. But the generation does not run with mineral oil diesel. It runs with vegetable oil from the sunflowers from the farmers near side. It is a renewable energy. And though my house is since 2 decades, 100% renewable served for electricity, heating, and the traffic. Because my former cars run with the same vegetable oil, and now my cars run with the solar electricity as electric cars with this electricity. And in 1994, we created in Hammelburg, my hometown, a small hometown in the northern part of Bavaria in South Germany. In this hometown, we created the first community with people to invest into photovoltaic. 70 people collected their own money and invested into photovoltaic. And we invested into a revolution. We invested into 15 kilowatt photovoltaic. Today it is ridiculous, 15 kilowatt. Millions of householders in Germany have it on their rooftop, 15 kilowatt. But in this time it was a revolution. The medias came and reported about it and plenty others. And I learned from these issues how to deal about legislation to make it possible, how to deal with the technique, and how to deal with the economy of all these issues. And this made me able to write a law later in 1999 for the German parliament, and I was elected in the German parliament, to write a law with the basic what we learned in Hammelburg, to make a whole nation to come to renewable energies. And this law, the Fit-in tariff law, is a basic for the tremendous growth of renewable energies worldwide. And the basics of the law, the key issues, the key points are very important to learn because they are still today the key points for market introduction as well as here in Hong Kong. And I'm happy that you decided in Hong Kong in April this year to bring a Fit-in tariff law here in Hong Kong. The basic is give the investors a privileged grid access. Everyone who wants to invest into renewables must be allowed to go to the grid to sell his renewable electricity. Second is pay a feed-in tariff that is high enough that the investors have a return of investment. Without a return of investment, no one will invest. And this return of investment in 2000 was very, very high. No, better said, the feed-in tariff was very, very high, not the return of investment. And it needed very high because in 2000 the renewable energy, mostly photovoltaic, was very, very expensive compared with coal and nuclear power. But the target was that the price come down over mass production and industry development. We set no target. We wanted to allow the society in Germany to invest plenty, no cap, no border for investment, and a guaranteed period of remuneration. Now we have mostly the switch to tenderings instead of feed-in tariff. I see it serious. Yes, above 40 megawatt tendering is good. But how should private people take part on a tendering for a big wind power station? They are not able. How should take part cooperatives with it? And a decentralized investment is the most decisive for renewable development. So we must allow everyone to invest into renewables, and therefore feed-in tariff is a better option compared with tendering. Tendering is only, but it is necessary for utility-scale investment, for big finance companies and everyone. We need both utility-scale investment and decentralized. But feed-in tariff is only one basic. It is a basic for the investors to come to 100% renewables. We need more legislation to stimulate it. And this law is, beside of feed-in tariff, cancelling all subsidizing for the polluting of the world. We have now $500 billion yearly subsidizing from tax money worldwide for coal and oil and natural gas. This means we subsidize in the world every ton of CO2 emissions by $100 from the taxpayers. This is crazy. We want to find solutions for climate protection and subsidize the polluting. Cancel it. This is important. We need tax reliefs for renewables and not for polluting technologies. So a carbon tax or anything else. Very important is education and research. We are not at the end of the technology. We have a lot of possibilities, and therefore universities are very important to support this, with new students, with a lot of new technology research, education, not only in technology, but also in the economy sector and others, how to deal with it. And we have to reduce the obstacles, and we have to look if we make wrong amendments. I believe emission trading, and it does not work since 2 decades since introducing in Germany, it does not work. It is not helpful for climate protection. The other points are more important. And how important and successful it can be, you can see in Germany. We introduced this feed-in tariff in 2000. We had a 6% share of electricity, and it was mostly the traditional old hydropower. Nearly nothing in wind power, nothing in photovoltaic, nothing in biogas. And we set the target in the German parliament to double the share of renewable electricity by 10 years, from 6 to 12%. We parliamentarians were told, you are stupid. It is impossible to make such a high increasing rate with renewables within 10 years. But look to the figures. The German society over-exceeded this target, what was told to be impossible. And you see another point. We could increase an exponential growth rate, not a linear growth rate. Every 7 years, we had a doubling of the share of renewables. This means the next doubling we will have in Germany renewable electricity by 50% about 2020 or 21. And the last doubling to 100% will be reached in 2030. So it is possible to go on a fast-track way because technology-driven development is an exponential growth rate and not a linear growth rate. And important is we use all renewable energies, the mix of renewables, not only solar or wind. Solar and wind stand in the center, yes, but they are not everything. And the growth rates were in bioenergy, mostly biogas, in offshore wind energy, in hydropower, in wind onshore, and in geothermal, but geothermal is not so high potential in Germany, therefore it is on a few level. But we have other regions, like in Japan or New Zealand, for example, use a lot of geothermal. In all of the volcanic areas in the world, you have big potentials. And the feed-in tariff introduced and growth rates of solar and wind that seems unbelievable 20 years ago. Look to these figures. Now we have worldwide 400 gigawatts installed capacity of solar, and we have 500 gigawatts installed capacity of wind power. The share now of renewables in the world energy demand is nearly 80%, much more than nuclear energy. And how fast this growth rate goes, you can look to the forecast from the highest level institutions who educate and bring a knowledge transfer to the governments. Most important is the International Energy Agency in Paris. They advise all the governments in the world with energy issues. And you can see that the forecasts, these are the lines, they go red nearly directly. These are linear forecasts and not exponential growth rates. And the linear forecast, look to the last one in 2017. They forecasted for the next years until 2040 a yearly investment of 80 gigawatt photovoltaic per year globally. But we had last year more than 100 megawatt. So you see all the forecasts were wrong and too low. The reality goes much faster than even the highest level institutions will inform us. And the decline of the investment cost, you can see it on the feed-in tariff, what we paid. We set the target that we want to reduce the feed-in tariff for a yearly new installed capacity by the innovation process. The more we have innovations, the cheaper the investment becomes, and the less we must pay a feed-in tariff per kilowatt hour. And you see how fast it runs down. And this is a tremendous growth. And it leads to a new situation, what we have today. Today, renewable energy, mostly wind and solar, is the cheapest option for energy in the world. This was the first step one we wanted to achieve. Make zero-emission technology, make renewable energy cheap. When they are cheap, then the economy will be the most important driver for investment into renewables. And now we stand at the point. Now we have the situation. Everyone who invests or use coal power, natural gas, oil, and nuclear is uneconomic. He is stupid to pay more. He must not pay more. And he pays more for polluting the world instead of pay less for saving the world. This is a very new critical point. But the most people do not see this point because they have not the acknowledge. And therefore it is important, and thank you to give the lecture here at the university, to learn it, that everyone knows about the new situation. It is not long, it is since 2 years about this. But the future will show, for renewable energies, the price goes down and down in the future. And for conventional energies, they go up, because we must balance the polluting and damages and much more. And come back to the necessity of climate protection. The necessity is, in my thinking, more, stronger, and we must do much more than even the IPCC is advising the world. Look to the today's world. The disasters are already very great. You had 1 week ago a typhoon that was the strongest what Hong Kong ever have seen. And we must fear that these storms and typhoons and floods, compared with rising sea level and others, will increase in the next decades. Some scientists, people even advise us that in some decades, regions like Hong Kong are unable to give habitats for humankind. It is really, really dangerous. So my advice is not to go to global warming to 2 degrees. It is better to global cooling, to planet. But how to come to it? First, we must recognize what is the main cause. The cause is a concentration of carbon greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And they rise yearly, because of the high and high emissions of carbon, of methane, carbon dioxide, and other climate gases. We stand now at 410 parts per million carbon dioxide equivalent in the atmosphere. It is much too high. Before the industry came to the world 200 years ago, we had only 280. So our target should not be to reduce the emissions alone. It is not enough, because every reduced emission is higher the concentration of climate gases in the atmosphere. We must reduce the concentration, but it does not come with the existing worldwide climate protection issues. This is the outlook from IPCC, what we had worldwide. In 2010, they made the last report. The next week will come out the next report. And they forecasted we should reduce the emissions beginning in 2020 until nearly zero in 2050. I believe it is much too much. And when we look what happened in the meantime, we did not reduce the yearly emissions, but we hired on the world the emissions. So we have now the necessity to go much faster to zero emission. The best and the need is within 1 decade. Otherwise, we will see heavy disasters in the world. But how to come to a reduced carbon concentration? The target should be about 330 parts per million. And this is a clear nature science thinking. First is, when we want to reduce the carbon concentration, we are not allowed to give new emissions. Stop all emissions. Mainly in energy sector, because the energy sector with coal, nuclear, with oil and natural gas is a main emitter. But even in chemistry system, transport system, in agriculture system and everywhere, we have to reduce all the emissions by zero. But it is not enough, because a high concentration of atmosphere climate gases will go on. And the world temperature followed with a time lag to the high concentration. So the increasing of the temperature will go on when we only stop the emissions. Therefore, we must take out the carbon from the atmosphere as well. And it is possible. Every plant, when it grows, the flowers, the trees, they take out the carbon from the atmosphere. And we as humankind must only organize an agriculture that we don't let go back the carbon to the atmosphere what the plants captured. This is possible with forestry, with organic farming, not intensive farming. It is possible with nature conservation, and it is possible, technology-driven, to take the organic, for example, in the waste, in the municipal waste here in Hong Kong, you pollute your ocean with municipal waste, with organic waste. Take it as a fuel. Make a biocoal from it or anything else. Let's show the technologies. For example, forestering is believed to be unable. This is an extraordinary example how forestering is possible. And it is near the western border of China. You have in western China plenty similar regions like here in Uzbekistan. And I could see in the near of desert of Uzbekistan a salty area nearly can grow, we believed. Nothing can grow, we believed. But they managed it to reforest it. And this reforesting in this desert area brings new income for the people. They have roots and wood, and they can overlive. It is possible. Another example from China, Desert Gobi. Huge amount of zero-emission electricity by photovoltaics. But the most important view is under the modules. You see Desert Gobi, and you believe under the modules is only sand. Nothing will grow. No. Now we see the tractors in Desert Gobi. The shadowing of the module saves the water in the soil, and now plants can grow with a very efficient drip irrigation. This is a combination of carbon-sinking agriculture and zero-emission technologies. We have the possibilities to combine both. You can do it as well on a small level here in Hong Kong. Take your rooftops, bring high up standard photovoltaic, and create your food with urban gardening on your own roofs, on your skyscrapers. This is carbon sinking and zero emission technology. It is possible. And biocoal producing from waste here, and very new technology coming from Germany. It is hydrothermal carbonization. They take the organic sludge from municipal and make a biocoal. This cleans the water instead of polluting the water. And we have a fuel to replace mineral coal in coal power station. We can replace the basic for plastics in chemical industry by the biocoal to make degradable plastics that do not pollute the marines with plastic waste. And it is a fertilizer for the soil. When we bring the biocoal to the soil, we can have more yields for food growing, and we have carbon sinks. A new technology. And I would hope that Hong Kong will go to this technology to deal with the waste. Come back to 100% renewables. For plenty of people, they believe it is impossible. But it is possible. To go to 100% renewables is now a mainstream movement in the world. We have plenty of decisions. You see a card, a map, from Germany. All the green areas made decisions to come to 100% renewables. And some areas, some cities already achieved it. A town nearby, my hometown, small town, Hasford, 10,000 inhabitants, they reached it already with 100% renewables served. And plenty countries decided it. At COP in Marrakesh in 2016, 48 countries in the world, the climate vulnerable states, decided to go to 100% renewables. Some of them are close to this goal. Costa Rica already reached it in 100% renewable electricity. Uruguay, Nicaragua stand short before. We have industry nations like Denmark or Sweden who have the goal with 100% renewables. Denmark by 2030. We have big cities, you could read it, Barcelona or Master City, Vancouver, Sydney, San Francisco. Hong Kong could join these targets to make 100% renewables. And we have big companies, Google and Apple already reached their own energy demand, and this is very huge. You know what the internet servers need for electricity. And they reached it already by 100% renewables served. Coca-Cola, IKEA, Walmart have this target. So it is more a mainstream in the world than to believe it would not be possible. And that it is possible, we can show it on a scientific level. The Energy Watch Group, in cooperation with the Lapin-Ranta University of Technology in Finland, they can create a simulation of the whole world with 100% renewable electricity. We published last November at the COP in Bonn, in Germany, this study. And the findings are very, very impressive. And I will tell you, we will publish this year in December at COP in Poland a new study, not only with these findings in electricity sector, but we will publish it in all energy sector. How will the world come by all energies to 100% renewables? Which mix of technology is necessary? Which storages are possible? What is the best option on economic view to come to it? And our findings are impressive. First, you see on the left ring the existing today's electricity production in the world, mostly the polluting coal, the black area, and a lot of natural gas and coal. The violet area is nuclear power. It's not so plenty than plenty believes, and others. The coming energy system with 100% renewables will mostly be served by solar, 70%, 80% by wind power, hydropower 8%. Bioenergy and geothermal is important because they can balance partly the fluctuations of solar and wind. And this shows we do not need any base load from coal or nuclear. We can deal it everything with 100% renewables together with storage systems. And we see the findings in economy. Today's the average of all electricity consumers, they pay 70 euros per megawatt hour electricity. A coming 100% renewable system will cost per megawatt hour only 52 euros. So it becomes cheaper for the world to create electricity. Even when we need a high investment into generation of solar and wind and geothermal, and high investment into storage system, power to gas, batteries, hydropump power stations, and others. But we need to refinance nearly only the investment, and the great difference to the today's electricity system is we need nearly no fuel cost. We reduce the paying for oil, for gas, for uranium for coal. This is a point why it becomes cheap. And we have another positive point. Now we have an increasing new industry with a lot of new employment. And you see the figures. China is leading the world. The most employment is in China, in solar, in manufacturing, in wind power, in biogas, in batteries, and plenty others. And so renewable energies help to bring more employment to the world. It fights against poverty in rural areas and in plenty other areas. And 100% renewables, I mentioned it at the beginning, can be a very important point for peace in the world. The Energy Watch Group with La Penranta University and Green Global Growth Institute from Korea, we propose a plan for North and South Korea to come to 100% renewables. And we believe this would be the basic to make the peace between North and South Korea a reality. On 2 points. One is North Korea needs new growth, employment. Renewables can bring it. And North Korea must cancel the nuclear power station, that the discussion in the world is not like in Iran, where USA and Israel accuse Iran they would have a hidden nuclear weapon program because they have nuclear reactors. When you have no nuclear reactors, you cannot make a hidden nuclear weapon program. So, when you want to support it by funding the science or anything, when you see anyone, you can join this strategy and help us. And look to the future, what is necessary. Most is necessary to combine all renewables with storage system and with integrating. We should not invest in solar park here and wind park there and the grid operator say, oh, I have a problem to integrate it. We should invest into single investment into 100% renewable devices. This is a big task, yes. Find on your location the best option of the mix of renewables. It is on every location on the world another mix. Find the best options for storage and combine it with the transport sector. Use an overflow from solar or wind radiation when it is in some times and charge the batteries of your ferries here in your harbor. You reduce immediately air pollution. We have some batteries in Norway in the ferries already. You can join this movement. And you have plenty other possibilities to do it. And my advice for a new innovative legislation for Hong Kong and other world parts is make the fit-in tariff to enable the investors to come to a combined investment, to integrated investment. Give them a combined feed-in tariff for all investors who invest into a combination of renewables and batteries. They will find the best solution by themselves. You need only one obligation for them. Bring electricity every hour a year, the whole year. Only obligation. He will find the investors the best solution for his obligations, and then with this fit-in tariff you can stimulate it. And we see some places in the world where the transport sector goes to this right way, not far from here. Some kilometers in Shenzhen. I visited in May BYD headquarters and I was astonished. All buses in Shenzhen are now electric. You have plenty diesel buses and you see air pollution here. In Shenzhen, air pollution is highly reduced. Nearly all taxis are electric now and plenty other cars. But decisive is the buses and cars need electric from renewable energies, not from coal or nuclear. And the world is on a straight way to a positive investment. Since some years, the investment into green technologies are higher than the investment into fossil and nuclear. That is a good development, but we must strengthen this, that the investment into fossil and nuclear comes very soon to zero. And plenty of the financiers do it already. Divestment is a big movement. It is necessary for your finance industry here. You have big insurance companies who must deal with the money. They must learn how to deal it, to go not to bankrupt. And we have plenty finance institutes, they warn for fossil investment, like Bank of England, like HSBC and others. They warn of it because they fear that fossil investment will become in some years stranded investment because of the need of climate protection. So it is good to follow this development. We have $6 trillion assets who divested already. They give no money for investing into fossil and nuclear. And this development grows very fast. And the front runners, they will be the winners of the system. The backcomers will be the loser of the coming economy. Look to the double pitfall where the oil and gas and coal industry is. They hope for rising prices to have a lot of income for the companies. But when the oil prices are rising, and consumers will say, why should I pay this expensive oil? Renewables are much cheaper. They will lose the consumers. But when the prices are falling down, what we had 3 years ago, the financiers will say, no, we cannot give credit for you because we see no possibility of return of investment. Both leads to bankrupt for the fossil industry. And they must learn it, that the game is over. And the people and the business people who come too late to come to zero-emission investment, they will lose in the next decades the business by the whole. The development is clear in the world, even when plenty of them do not believe it. And we need big campaigns in the world. We need all the people who speak about it. You know him, Leonardo DiCaprio. I saw him last year in Shanghai. He presented the new BYD cars. And he is told to the public, go to global cooling, not global warming. Zero-emission technology is important. And I want to create and I want to join you, everything. Bring your superstars to such a campaign. The people will hear to the superstars. And we organize a campaign in the world with 100% renewables, and it is very successful. And we have superstars. You might not know him. Ruslana from Ukraine, a superstar in Eastern Europe and in Central Asia. She follows it, and plenty others. And we will create it. Tell the humankind we have a chance to make a better world. And then we will have a better world. That's what I advise you. Do it. That's my experience in my life. We can be successful. Thank you for your invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Fell, for sharing your vision of a sustainable future with 100% renewables. Please take the seat on stage. Mr. Fell has kindly agreed to take a few questions from the audience. I would like to invite Professor Gabriel Lau, Director of Institute of Environment, Energy and Sustainability of CUHK, to come forward to the stage and conduct the question and answer session together with Mr. Fell, please.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Gabriel Lau. I actually work here in the same building. So if you want to look for me, go to the 9th floor. And if you have time after the talk, please also go to the 8th floor, which is the Museum of Climate Change. And it will introduce you the issues related to climate change and also what the Chinese university is doing about climate change in terms of education and research. So within the limited time we have available, I would like to open up the audience questions to Mr. Fell. If you feel stimulated by certain issues he has raised in his talk, this is a good time to raise it. I serve here mainly as a traffic cop and direct the traffic. So anyone have a question, please raise your hand.
Hello, thank you, Professor Fell, for the amazing lecture, which is awesome. My question is, from a practical, pragmatic perspective, all of these solar photovoltaic cells, wind, biofuel, and hydro. I mean, let's say Hong Kong will focus on solar cells, which is the most practical solution. The land prices here are exorbitant, as you know, and we have a huge population. And my concern is because we don't have earthquakes, but we have typhoons and some, natural disasters. The cost of the replacement of these photovoltaic cells, and this is my concern. Are these cells sturdy enough to, withstand such, weather, events? Because we also very greedy contractors. They want to, for example, replace them as much as possible to increase the income. So have we factored the replacement cost of these PV cells into the equation? And have we also thought about the manufacturing processes in China for these photovoltaic cells? Because my concern is they may not be efficacious enough for this purpose. So, has all these been factored into the equation? Thank you, Professor.
Yes, you mentioned a critical point. This is important to discuss it. First answer is, when we look to the coast to make it cheap with energy, we will have the destroying of the humanity. We cannot look to save the humankind only by cheap. So we must invest money. Today's renewable energies are cheap in plenty places because they seek and find it the best areas to do it. Wide open areas in deserts with photovoltaics, therefore it is cheap. You are completely right. Here in Hong Kong, you have not this space. So therefore, you have the necessity and the possibility to make new innovations. For example, you have plenty space on your facades of your skyscrapers. You can use new technology, not yet developed, not yet cheap, but in 5 years they could be cheap. Take transparent thin film technology in photovoltaics and bring it to the glass facades of your skyscrapers. They have daylight and they become cheap the more you use it, and you have wonderful technologies where students and professors can develop these technologies for the skyscrapers. So, and then when you have cheap thin film, transparent photovoltaic modules for the skyscrapers, New York will buy it, and Shanghai will buy it, and Tokyo and others. It would be a stimulating process for your industry to come to the world market with a typical new industry for that. But I know even the skyscraper space is not enough for make 100% renewables. Here we must learn other technologies. You have plenty ocean areas around Hong Kong. You can go with offshore wind energy. I learned the potential is not so high because you have not so high wind speeds there. But partly you can use it. But you have plenty energy in the ocean itself. Tidals and sea current. And you can develop here on a mechanical level sea current technology. It is on a low level, mostly in Korea and in Scotland developed, and you can accelerate it and you can use it. But you can use also that what you are doing at the moment. Your energy come nearly 100% from abroad. Imports of coal, gas, natural gas. I did not see an oil field here anywhere in Hong Kong. So take abroad energy integration from abroad as well. You can build up big power lines to Desert Gobi, even to Australia. A good friend of me, a professor at National University of Australia in Canberra, he made a plan for a supergrid from Australia to Desert Gobi with big power lines to earn plenty wind and solar power in Desert Gobi and in Australia, combined with big hydropower pump stations in the northern of Australia. They have plenty rooms without people living there. And this power line is on the line with the biggest city in the world. Jakarta, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Vietnam City, Hong Kong, Chengdu, Beijing. You could serve very fast these big cities, even partly what you cannot do it on your space with these power lines.
I believe there's a question over here.
Since which year did Germany start to decide that that they wanted to go green?
It was a movement. It was not only one point what it happens. We have in Germany since decades a great NGO movement for environmentalists, anti-nuclear NGOs, and pro-climate protection NGOs. Since decades. I am coming out of this grassroots movements from the 70s, and we have plenty pioneers. And this movement accelerated over the decades. And it was a basic that the Green Party, where I came from, was 1998 the first time in the world that it came in governmental position in democratic elections. And this gave us a basic to make laws. And the most important law I mentioned was a law what I wrote in 2000, the feed-in tariff law, to make climate protection with renewables. So when you want 2000 would be this point, but it is a great preparation from NGO movement. And that's also my advice. Go to such NGOs, move it, introduce yourself, and work for this better world.
Another question, yes.
Thank you very much, Professor. Congratulations for a well-deserved prize, and thank you very much for your presentation, for your lecture. What I like of your lecture particularly is that it's not about dreams, it's about actions, and that's really what we need nowadays. I have been living in Hong Kong for a bit more than 2 years. I represent the European Union here in Hong Kong. As you have mentioned several times in your speech, climate change, environmental issues are very high on the European agenda. You have given a number of examples. It was not like that 10 or 15 years ago. It has changed very, very quickly and in the right direction, although we can still do more. These issues, climate change, environmental issues, are also very important in the relation and in the cooperation between the European Union and Hong Kong. And I think there is a lot of untapped potential here. So my question is how Hong Kong could better contribute to reach the objectives that you have mentioned. You have already mentioned some examples. But is it a question of more regulation? Is it a question of incentives? It's a question of tariffs? It's rather a question of more education, raising awareness on these issues. You just recommended some young people here to join NGOs. I mean, at the end, I think it's a question of how to promote innovation and technology, and that's probably the $1 million question.
Mm-hmm. The answer is clear. It is a question of all what you mentioned. It is everything necessary. When we want to have more innovation and research to bring more better technologies, especially for crowded regions like here in Hong Kong with plenty skyscrapers, we are not yet in the world far enough to implement it. Then it is a question of political support. And we could find out in Germany the feed-in tariff introduced a market. But the companies want to have the biggest market share, and they can achieve it only when they make a big innovation process with their products. And those they go to the universities and to the research center, help me to make me able to be the front runner with my technology. So a feed-in tariff stimulates the research, not only the market introduction. So parallel to the market introduction in Germany from 2000, for example, the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, in Freiburg, with solar energy, increased by 3 times with researchers and more. So it is a combination of everything: education, research, tax incentives, feed-in tariffs, all is necessary.
Mr. Fell?
Hi. That was a terrific talk, and I'm more interested. I have a question regarding technologies, because ultimately, sometimes technologies themselves could be rate limiting. So you mentioned, I think the last thing you mentioned, marine currents, as well, obviously, photovoltaic cells, which my understanding is that we are doing this to some extent also at the expense of perhaps somewhat environmental pollution, because we are taking elements from the ground and we are maybe exhausting even. At some point, we will reach a point of plateauing of these technologies. So are there emerging technologies, is hydrogen a possibility, and all these other things that our young people particularly should be spending the time, but certainly photovoltaic cells has been around for a while. And then the other, obviously, any turbine, wind turbine, whatever, those have been around for a while. New technologies, where are the emerging areas that our physicists, our engineers, and our technologically minded youngsters should spend their time pushing the envelope?
When I would like to give a real answer to this question, I would need a new lecture.
We'll invite you back. No problem. No problem.
Because of the technologies are so plenty, and the innovation process brings so plenty new technologies and possibilities, and not only technologies as well as business models. Business models are important, not only the technologies, and therefore, yes, give your students the possibilities to go to all these new technologies and help them to develop them. But one point is crucial. We have already a lot of research results from the worldwide universities. Not every of wonderful technologies come to the market. Therefore, research is important and market introduction as well. And this is a task of the government. And feed-in tariff was it to open the market for the new technology. And the basic for the market introduction is make the investors possible to have a profit. And then it will come. And then you will have it.
Christine?
I think the most exciting thing is to see how Hong Kong can collaborate with you. And we have an offer from the EU representative here about what can be done. And riding on the point that it is the technology with the right business model that really will make things work. And then you can think about what is the new policy and law that will need it to make it happen. So I think that's the perfect circle. What I think would be extremely helpful to Hong Kong for all of us to think about how to have more renewables is to frame Hong Kong in a different vision than, let's say, in Europe. Because what we have in Hong Kong is the world's extreme density. If we look at our city, we have now 30, 40, 50-story buildings where electricity reliability is critical. If one or two buildings go down, as we found in the last typhoon, many things will not work in Hong Kong. So for us to think about increasing renewable energy, we have to be very diverse. And we have to also think about the transition from where we are today. So we already decided to move away from coal. We're going into natural gas. As you could say, that is the midway point. And then how do we increase renewables? And also, as you suggested, we need to think about the bigger grid across the border with China. China investing also in a lot of technology, including ocean technology and so on. So it's an interesting mix. So if we can imagine and articulate our renewable path in Hong Kong through extreme high density, what it is that we need in a transition pathway, I think you will bring together many of the stakeholders that will have just too many questions. You know, can we do this? Can we do that? And it will release us from thinking it is not possible. I hope this might be helpful.
Yes, I agree with you on nearly every point. The exception I will tell you immediately, natural gas is not a bridge to renewable energies. Natural gas is in a whole chain high-emitting methane, and methane is a very, very critical climate gas. So we should not go to this bridge with natural gas, but we should use gas, green gas, biogas, landfill gas, gas from waste management and others, and we can use hydrogen. Hydrogen would be very important for a dense city like here. You can create on your skyscrapers, when you have facades with transparent thin film modules with photovoltaic, you have sometimes days or times what you need, do not need this electricity in this skyscraper. Produce hydrogen and use it in times where you have less one. So perhaps, I do not know, it is a question for the researchers if we have the possibility to do it. And then when you create it, I completely agree with you, that's what Hong Kong could bring to the world. How to make these dense regions to 100% renewable regions. This would be a wonderful example. With our experience with Energy Watch Group and La Penranta University with Professor Christian Breyer, we would like to support this issue. What we can bring as advice for this to your information and to your research to do it, we will do it.
I have a question from the back.
Hello, Mr. Fell. This is Ringo Mack from 350 Hong Kong. So we are a subsidiary with the 350.org, which is also focused on climate change. I would like to know, for your organization, is there any Asia or even local China-Hong Kong contact that we can connect with so we could kind of collaborate with your mighty work and see how we can achieve a synergy?
The Energy Watch Group is very, 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 very small. We have not offices anywhere in the world, only in Berlin. We want to create it bigger, and Louis Chevaux Prize help us to do it. But we will not become so great as International Energy Agency in Paris. We have no chance. They have 700 staffs to support them. But we could create and we could help together over the network. Energy Watch Group is only a network of scientists and parliamentarians. And with the support of Energy Watch Group, everyone in his region can create scientific and politics, both to do it. And they can learn from our advice. I can give some advice how to do it. But the most you must do by yourself. And I think it is right. You know better what your locality necessity is than me from Berlin.
So one follow-up question, sorry. Because you mentioned a very good point, is the natural gas. Nowadays, actually, recently, government and the two power company in Hong Kong is positioning natural gas as a clean energy. And they are threatening Hong Kong public that, because of adopting to this clean energy, the people have to be prepared to pay more. So this is a very, I think is not a good strategy to educate people. How would you comment on this issue?
Yeah, bring only the scientific reports of the whole greenhouse gas emissions of natural gas in the whole chain. We have such a study in the Energy Watch Group. It is available. It comes from USA. And it highlights that the combination of carbon dioxide plus methane makes natural gas more climate effective than even coal and oil. So it is not a solution. It may help a little bit for reducing the air pollution here in Hong Kong, perhaps. But what will it help to reduce air pollution and increase climate warming? It is not a good idea to make only a single point. And when you use gases from green gases like hydrogen and others, then you come to the right ideas. And the technology of hydrogen is very increasing in the world, and you can use it in transport sector, in your ferries and others. You can use it batteries or others. But the basic must every time be renewable energies and not fossil, not natural gas, not coal, not oil.
In the interest of time, I would limit it to just two more questions. One from the middle here and the other one from the back.
You mentioned that obviously Hong Kong and other nations, there are many different perspectives that we need to address this transition to renewable energy. We have to education, there is policy, there's many different areas of attack, so to speak. My question is, what about nations that may prioritize their own development over the transition to renewable energies? And how, or are there any support systems? And if there are none, what support systems do you suggest be put in place to help these other nations that may not be as developed or may not be as financially stable in order to transition to renewable energy?
Knowledge transfer is the most important issue. And you can deal it even with universities to make cooperation with universities in other places of the world. Share the acknowledge what on this place and on the other place was important. And you will be astonished what happens already in some parts of the world. They could find the solutions in this area. For example, at the moment, East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania and others have a fast development with electricity. You know, there live millions of people who have no light in the night. They have development without any grid, without any power station, only with a solar module and a battery in their house. And this is rapidly increasing in Eastern Africa because it is the only chance to become cheap and fast electricity to the poorest of the poor. You will learn this here. You will learn on other regions. There are plenty other situations. I was in Ukraine, former Soviet Union country. You know, Soviet Union is highly dependent And now Russia, highly dependent of oil, gas, coal imports, and President Putin works heavily to go on with these imports, and the result is polluting the world. So even in Ukraine, we have the first decision in Lemberg, 1 million people, to go to 100% renewables. And they say it not only because of air pollution and help to climate protection. They say, we want to be political independent from raw materials import. When we are dependent from raw materials import, we are dependent on political issues. To become free for themselves, renewable energy is one point for this. So you see on plenty different places on the world different motivations. And to learn from the different motivations seems to be different technologies and others. And therefore, the share of the acknowledged worldwide is very, very important.
One last question from the back, please. Thank you.
Thanks. You mentioned using energy storage or addressing energy storage in the transition. And you brought up a couple different technologies. So I was curious what energy storage infrastructure is being used in Germany during the transition period, and if you see where this is going in the future.
The future will show us plenty new technologies, not only the today's existing. The traditional energy storage is hydropump power station. It will play a role in the future as well. But hydropump power use the height and the gravity. We will see plenty innovations in gravity storage systems. For example, I could see a research to bring really heavy stones higher and let them come down. It is a storage. We have development of gravity in marine technologies. We have the first project in the Lake Bodensee in Germany to make in the sea pumped or unpumped in a storage water. So only gravity brings a lot of new technologies. You spoke over batteries, lithium-ion. A lot of new innovations are important, for example, to avoid seldom and poison materials in batteries. Now I learned from BYD, they go together with Panasonic to make a cobalt-free battery, lithium-ion. We have other developments, lithium-free. Plenty research field only in batteries. Power to gas, hydrogen, what we mentioned. We could use hydrogen even to take carbon from the atmosphere to make a methane and have a natural gas-like thing, but it is a green one, a renewable one then. And I could hear a new technology in storage to take metal, iron, to make it fluid. It is high density in energy when it is fluid, high smelt it and cool it down and make it reverse. It is perhaps the cheapest storage system what will get on the world. Not yet great developed, but on the step to the market is it. So thank you for your question. It highlights the point. We have so plenty innovations. We just do it and bring it to the markets.
Well, as the Chinese saying goes, all great parties must end somehow. So I would have to end this conversation with Mr. Fell, and thank you all for coming and staying on. And you have all made my job very easy for me, because in preparing to moderate this session, I actually did some homework and I listed a set of questions, just in case nobody asked any questions, right? But you have asked all my questions and even better ones, so thank you very much. And congratulations again, Mr. Fell, for your work. Thank you.